Imagine waking up to a call you never wanted, your house flooded, or the diagnosis you feared. In that moment, your mind doesn't calculate probabilities. It just screams one question: what if I hadn't been covered? We all carry that low hum of anxiety about the future. And insurance companies know it. They don't just sell policies, they sell the feeling that the worst-case scenario won't completely destroy you. But here's what keeps me up at night. Are we buying protection, or are we buying an illusion that lets us sleep better while quietly shaping how we live? Today, we're stepping behind the numbers into the messy, deeply human psychology of insurance, not the sales pitch, not the fine print, but how it actually moves us, and sometimes misleads us. Most of us think of insurance as a rational transaction. You pay a premium to transfer risk. Simple economics, right? But human beings aren't wired like spreadsheets. We're wired for survival in a world full of saber-toothed tigers, not rare floods or long-term health scares. The common story says people underinsure because they're cheap or optimistic. Sometimes that's true. But often, it's more complicated. We overpay for peace of mind on some things and ignore real vulnerabilities on others. We chase the feeling of being protected more than the actual math of protection. Think about it. Why do so many people buy extended warranties on cheap gadgets but skip proper life insurance? Why do we rush to buy flood coverage right after a storm, only to let it lapse years later when the sky's clear? Our decisions aren't driven by cold probability. They're driven by emotion, memory, and the quiet terror of uncertainty. This isn't stupidity, it's humanity, loss aversion. That psychological truth that losing $100 hurts more than gaining $100 feels good, makes us desperate to avoid the pain of a big uninsured hit. But it also makes insurance companies experts at framing their product as the only thing standing between you and regret. Let me tell you a story that hits close to home for many. A friend of mine lived in a safe neighborhood, low crime, stable job. He thought health insurance was enough until a sudden illness hit his family. The bills didn't just strain their savings, they strained their marriage, their sleep, their sense of control. In the aftermath, he bought every rider and add-on imaginable. Not because the numbers justified it, but because the fear had a new face now. It was personal. That's the availability heuristic in action. Recent or vivid events feel more probable than they are. One bad experience and suddenly every shadow looks like a threat. Insurance plays on this beautifully and sometimes manipulatively. Companies design policies with low deductibles because we hate the idea of paying anything out of pocket when disaster strikes. Even if it costs us more in premiums over time, we pay extra for the emotional comfort of it's covered rather than optimizing for long-term value. Then there's the flip side, moral hazard. Once insured, some of us unconsciously take slightly more risks. We might drive a bit faster knowing the car's covered, or skip that extra checkup because the plan will handle it. It's not fraud most of the time. It's just human nature relaxing its grip when the safety net appears. But the deepest part? Insurance taps into our need for control in an uncontrollable world. Paying that monthly bill feels like doing something. It quiets the what-ifs. It gives us a story we can tell ourselves. I'm responsible. I'm prepared. Even when statistics show many policies go unused for years, consider how emotions swing our choices over time. Right after a claim or a scare, we're all in. Premiums feel worth it. Peace of mind is priceless. But as the memory fades, as life returns to its normal rhythm, that same policy starts to feel like a waste. We cancel or reduce coverage, only to regret it when the next wave hits. This cycle isn't rational calculation. It's emotional memory at work. And let's be honest about overconfidence. Most of us believe we're better than average drivers, healthier than average, luckier than average. Optimism bias whispers that the bad stuff happens to other people. Until it doesn't. Then we overcorrect with too much coverage on the wrong things. The system knows this. Marketing leans into fear and affection, protecting the things and people we love emotionally, not just financially. A policy on your home isn't just bricks and mortar, it's the memories inside. Insurance for your kids isn't math, it's love dressed up as prudence. Here's the deeper realization that changed how I think about all this. Insurance isn't really about money. It's about identity and emotional stability. When we buy it thoughtfully, it can be an act of quiet maturity, acknowledging that life is fragile and we have people who depend on us. But when we buy it reactively, out of raw fear or social pressure, it becomes expensive emotional armor that doesn't always fit. The mature perspective isn't rejecting insurance. It's understanding it as one tool among many for building resilience. Real security comes less from perfect coverage and more from understanding your own psychology, knowing when fear is serving you and when it's being sold to you. We can't eliminate uncertainty, but we can stop letting it run our financial lives on autopilot. So what does this mean for how we actually live? First, pause before you buy or renew. Ask yourself, am I buying this for the math or for the feeling? Run the realistic scenarios, not just the nightmare ones. A high deductible might make more sense than you think if your emergency fund can handle it. It forces discipline and saves on premiums. Second, review coverage when life feels calm, not just after a scare. That's when you're less likely to overpay for temporary peace. Third, build buffers beyond policies. An emergency fund, skills that make you adaptable, relationships that support you. These are insurances the market can't sell you. Don't chase perfect protection. Aim for enough coverage on the things that would truly derail your life, and accept that some risks are part of being alive. Consistency in awareness beats perfection in any single policy. And remember, it's okay to feel the anxiety. Naming it reduces its power. Insurance reveals something tender about us. We are creatures who crave safety in a world that refuses to promise it. We reach for these contracts not just to protect our bank accounts, but to protect our hope. The quiet belief that we can keep going even if things break. In the end, the best relationship with insurance isn't one of blind trust or cynical rejection. It's one of quiet understanding. You see the system for what it is, a human invention trying to manage human fear. And you see yourself, someone navigating the same uncertainty as everyone else, doing the best you can with the tools available. That awareness doesn't eliminate the what-ifs, but it makes them feel less like a trap, and more like a shared part of the human condition. And in that shared understanding, there's a kind of peace no policy can fully deliver. But that makes every real decision feel a little wiser. Thanks for thinking through this with me. If this resonated, drop a comment about your own complicated relationship with insurance. We're all figuring it out together. Until next time, take care of yourself out there.